Hey, what's on, guys? So welcome to my review of X-Men Apocalypse. So X-Men Apocalypse is the newest X-Men film directed by Bryan Singer and is a follow-up to X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past. This will be a spoiler-free review, and my spoiler-full review will be up later tomorrow. So first, I just want to give you a quick rundown of what the story is. The story is pretty much about Apocalypse, who is played by Oscar Isaac, and he is apparently the first mutant that ever existed. And his goal is to pretty much eradicate the world and then rebuild it with a better one by his standards. And he plans to do this with the help of his four horsemen, Magneto, Psylocke, Storm, and Angel. So the first half of this movie feels a lot like Batman v Superman. And what I mean by that is that the pacing felt off at times, and at other times it felt a little bit unorganized. It wasn't as bad as Batman v Superman, but you could still tell that it was like, yeah, that kind of went by too fast, or I feel like this could have been placed there, but it's not as bad as Batman v Superman. It wasn't a huge problem, especially since the second half of the movie is really good. Next is the characters. Since the First Class rebooted the series, we were first introduced to a lot of new characters, such as Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Jean Grey, Storm, and Angel. Now, some of these characters, such as Jean Grey and Nightcrawler, had a really good amount of screen time. It was really balanced out with all the other characters, and we had a good look at their powers. And then there's other characters like Storm and Angel and Psylocke, which were in the movie, and some of them actually did get like somewhat of a decent amount of time to showcase their powers, while others were you're just kind of there. You got like maybe like one small scene to showcase their powers, and then that's it. Which is where I think the movie was really lacking, and I was kind of disappointed by that, because there's some characters that I was like, I can't wait to see how their powers show up in this movie, and then they never showed it to us. So it was just like, really? I did, however, like Jean Grey's performance in this movie. You know, Singer did a good job picking. I can't remember what the actress name is, but whatever her name is, she did a really good job as Jean Grey. You know, throughout the whole movie, I was like, this is Jean Grey. This is how she's meant to be, and that's just great. I loved seeing that. After that, Michael Fassbender did a great performance as Magneto. It was definitely one of the best I've seen from him. To a certain extent, the story does revolve around certain events which lead Magneto to doing things in this movie, and that's a piece of what the first half of the movie is. Certain things happen to Eric, and they cause him to do things in the second half of the movie. So, and there's a lot of character depth in this movie for Magneto. They really focus on Magneto and Charles in this movie, and I just loved seeing that. As for Apocalypse, Oscar Isaac does an amazing job as Apocalypse. You know, even after the movie ended, I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to see more of what Apocalypse can do, and you know, just seeing his powers at work, it was so cool to see. Just all the special effects and just all the debris being floated up, and all the bridges and buildings being like picked up and disintegrated and stuff. It was so cool to see, and I wish we could have seen a lot more of that. I mean, we had a really good amount, but I wasn't satisfied. But that's just me. The only thing that really bothered me about his powers, though, is the fact that he first has two different kind of powers. Technically 3 and more, but I'm just gonna go and say 2. The first one is this ability to like pretty much turn any object or person into like dust, and the other one is pretty much like this god mode type of power, where he can like his eyes like change, his pupils change in his eyes, and then he's able to like invade people's minds and take over people, and like upgrade people's like weapons and mutant abilities and stuff. And that was really cool to see. We saw that throughout most of the movie, but his other power, the dust ability, we really didn't get a whole amount of that. You know, we got like 1 or 2 scenes in the first half of the movie, and then that was it. You know, that's all we saw of that. So I kind of wish they kind of balanced out his 2 powers. But then again, you know, Apocalypse in this movie was pretty much on God mode, and they pretty much nerfed Apocalypse first movie to put him on the same level as the X-Men. So even though we didn't get a whole lot of that dust ability, it still is understandable why they wouldn't give us all of that, because they want to balance him out and put him as an actual formidable opponent. As for the fight scenes, Singer completely killed it with these fights. That's one thing that I always loved seeing in the Bryan Singer directed X-Men movies is the fight scenes. He does such a good job with directing the fight scenes. It's just choreographed so well, and I always get this really nostalgic feeling every time I'm watching a fight scene in X-Men. It just takes me back to my childhood. I don't know what it is about it, but it just does. It's just done so well. So in terms of fight scenes, I would say X-Men Apocalypse is the second half of the movie is pretty much just all right, let's get right to it, and then it's a bunch of fight scenes. So I'd say fight scenes in Apocalypse are about probably one of the best fight scenes I've seen in X-Men movies, apart from X-Men Days of Future Past. Apocalypse and Days of Future Past are pretty much on the same level in terms of quality and consistency of fight scenes. I definitely think those two are my favorite X-Men fight scenes of all time. There is also a post-credit scene, but there's no mid-credit scene. But the post-credit scene focuses on what they want to set up for the next X-Men movie, which is something I really wasn't expecting. That's not what I initially would have thought would be as in the post-credit scene, but it's the one that they went with. And regardless, I'm still super excited for what they plan on doing next. Overall, X-Men Apocalypse is a great movie, and it's definitely worth watching a second time. I give X-Men Apocalypse an 8 out of 10. But that's all I've got for you guys. Just my quick review, my spoiler-free review of X-Men Apocalypse. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then smack the like button, as always appreciated. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button to see more content like this. I'll see you guys next time.